Welcome to a new release on the show. This is the 5 questions to nourish the mind, body and soul, to get to know the person sat in front of me a little bit more and ask them questions they wouldn't normally have. This has become very quickly one of my favourite parts of the interview. Now, we are re-releasing these because we released these months ago for our paid subscribers over on my newsletter, The Compassionate Cure on Substack. If you're not a paid subscriber, you will get these months in advance as being part of our community. However, we are now starting to release them. So enjoy. This is more of a personal connection and a shorter episode, but it really gets into the heart and not into the mind of the person who is sat in front of me. So the first question is, what's one small thing about you that makes you uniquely you?
Well, I suppose on a philosophical level, we all choose to inhabit, I believe, we all choose to inhabit a body at a certain time in history. And so I decided to inhabit this body at this time, which I suppose is fairly unique. Now, we've got 20,000 human genes. We've got many, many more bacterial and fungal and viral genes going on as well. So I guess that makes me physically rather unique. In terms of who I am as a person, I think it's quite rare, but I don't tend to get too nervous when it comes to connecting with people and just talking to people, because I feel like although we are all different, I feel as though we are all also the same in terms of our base human needs. You know, we all want to feel loved, we all want to feel listened to, and that's what we've all got in common, in fact. So I tend to think about that more than the things that separate us or that make us different.
I love that. We need that a lot today in this world, what's going on how we can kind of connect.
We do.
On the same level.
We do, because there's so much separation, especially in the online space. But I think if we focus more on what we have in common, the ways that we are the same, and our local communities, it draws us away from the separatist mindset that I think really thrives online in a lot of ways. Because there's that part of the human brain that kind of enjoys it, enjoys that kind of friction of tension or difference or outrage. Like, there's a part that loves it, but there's a deeper part that longs for connection. And so I think that's the part that we need to focus on.
That's the uniquely you. Okay, the next one's overcoming resilience. What's been the most persistent area of resistance in your life, and how did you overcome it?
The most persistent area of resistance in my life. Do you mean persistent patterns that come up for me in my own behavior or in the people around me, or certain things that I don't like that I notice? What do you mean?
I want you to think about how you interpret that question. So what's something that's constantly you feel has been a resistant area in your life?
This is off the top of my head because I've actually recently had a conversation about this. I think it's actually my attitude towards financial abundance, because money's never really been that important to me. It's important to have enough. It's important to be able to survive. And I think when I was growing up, I wanted to make sure that I had enough, that I didn't have to rely on another person in order to feel financially secure. But at the same time, like, once you have enough, I just don't really tend to focus on money very much. And I think it might be quite useful to have a mindset of financial abundance, because then I'll be able to give more rather than sort of like making the same sort of budgeting decisions and, like, the mortgage and the bills and treats and holidays, but actually perhaps even thinking a bit more expansively about how I can give to the world in different ways. And I give in many ways, but I think probably financially I'd like to give more.
That's a beautiful answer, and very tied to women, I think. The financial abundance. It's not a conversation I think women have openly.
No.
But I think men do.
They do, and they're always talking about ways to make more and ways to kind of optimize.
Oh, the optimized cultures.
And I'm thinking it's not something that's ever really occurred to me. And I think maybe I should think about this a little bit. Yeah, I had a conversation today that really sparked that thought in me, thinking, why is it that I don't think about that more? I'd like to.
Small changes, big impact. What is the smallest change that has brought the most ease into your life?
The smallest change that's brought the most ease. I wouldn't say it's a small change, but if I'm honest with you, it's having a nanny, because it means that I don't have to worry about having to pick the kids up from a childminder or a nursery setting when they were younger, having to always be there at school pickup. I'd obviously love to be there at school pickup, and I am there, but not all the time. I've got my clinics, I've got things like this, our little chit chat today. I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff if I didn't have somebody that I could rely on to consistently be around. And, not having family nearby and not having the ability to sort of, rely on somebody close by that could just take them on. I think that's actually been the biggest thing, because it's allowed me a lot more time to also be a quality parent, because when I am with my children, I feel as though there are less kind of burdens on my mind in terms of administrative tasks and having to make sure I've remembered X, Y, and Z thing that they needed, because I've got someone there to remind me, and I've got things that I can really focus on that they enjoy. I can plan things for us to do together. I can be my most fun, present self as a result of having less kind of strain in that part of my life.
Absolutely. And I'm so pleased that you mentioned that. I love how these are like 5 short questions and they're all becoming so beautifully open that I don't want to cut them short, but I do want to recognize that. I love that you said that with such happiness, as opposed to, oh, I'm not there for school pickup, because you just actually mentioned how much you can be a better parent and provide, and all of those things that I think can be so shrouded in shame and stigma about admitting that so beautifully and openly as a working woman. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that.
Good.
It leans on a conversation I had yesterday. Health transformation. What's the one health-related change that you've made that is, this is quite a hard one for you because I'm like, you've probably made a lot, that has significantly impacted your well-being?
Well, I have to say the main one is eating more of a whole food plant-based diet, because that's something that has allowed my lipid profile to go down to normal for the first time in my adult life. It stopped knee aches when I was running, and it's just something that makes me feel quite vibrant and, feel great. So that's probably the main thing.
I mean, that's been a whole part of your journey, and you were on the very first series, I think, of this show years ago.
Yes.
With your book.
Yeah, well, the first one, yes.
Yeah.
The Plant Power Doctor.
Plant Power
Little
Doctor.
plug there.
There you go. Go and read that.
I am proud of it, though, because
Yeah.
when I wrote it, it was the only book I could see that was written in the UK that talked about the power and benefits of a whole food plant-based diet and the conditions in the Western world that we suffer from and die from, and how there's a connection between eating more of those abundant foods and reducing the risk of those life-changing and life-shortening illnesses. And there wasn't anything else quite like it at the time, with the why to and the how to combined. So I'm still very proud of it.
Well, I'm very proud of you. And that's why I got you on the show. The last one. Now, this is a little bit more philosophical.
Okay.
This is peace with the past. What's been the hardest thing for you to make peace with about yourself or life in general?
The hardest thing for me to make peace with? That's a good question. I think from the outside, it would probably be the life and death of my father, because he really struggled with life, and he was extremely depressed. I think he had bipolar. He was unable to function. So you know how, well, I don't know if you've spent much time around people that can really quite deeply suffer from mental illness, but he had electroconvulsive therapy and he was inpatient. He was sectioned a couple of times. So he really, was quite severely unwell. And I think from the outside, that was very hard. And from the inside, it was hard. But I think potentially part of what helped me make peace in terms of my relationship with him was to actually go and see him after he had died, because he looked so handsome and so peaceful. He looked genuinely lovely. And it was as though all of the hardship of being human had completely left him. And obviously, having been around a lot of dead bodies in my career as a doctor, having cut up dead bodies as a medical student, I'm not unfamiliar with being around the dead. But it was honestly a tremendously special experience to sit with him in death, because I really strongly had this feeling that he was in a better place and that he was happier. And that helped me a great deal.
Wow. What amazing reflection. That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. I didn't know we were going to be talking about things like that, but it's nice to...
Well.
I just brought my seat down. Let me just give it a little...
I always love to do these at the beginning. One, to take everyone who comes on the show, including myself, and I say this because it's probably how I feel, can intellectualize things too much. And I believe we have disconnected from our bodies. And everyone who comes on here is so impressive and has done amazing research, has written books, has something beautiful to share with the world that they've done. But it's all intellectual. And I'm so much about getting back to the human who's sitting in front of me with these 5 questions. I really like getting to know them. And you did a wonderful job. So thank you.
Thank you. It was nice. I like the way that you did that. And yeah, I suppose it means that we'll probably feel as though we're going a little bit deeper into ourselves as people when we chat, rather than just studies show ... which is usually what I'm asked to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's nice to talk about other things.
So now we're going to go on to the show.
Yeah, okay.